What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Geek Out Room podcast. Don't forget you can watch new episodes over on our YouTube channel, Sauceless Entertainment. You can also listen to episodes over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just type in Geek Out Room Podcast in the search engine and you should find us. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about anime called Welcome to the NHK. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, you really should go watch it. I guarantee you it's an anime that can be a little depressing, so you have to be in the right mindset, but it's an anime with a great message that I think, especially now more than ever, Gen Z needs. Let's get right into it. So welcome to NHK. The main character is a shut-in, basically. And he's a college dropout. He siphons money from his parents. His parents send him allowance basically every month, and he lives on his own. And he's just a shut-in. He shut out the outside world. He is to the point where he has these delusions that I believe that he had these delusions that there is some kind of evil organization out to get him, or they set him up. And it's got to the point now where it's like he views other people as just anyone who's trying to help him from the outside. He sees it as just like people trying to make fun of him. He doesn't see the genuine intent from these people. He just sees them as people who want to further make him feel worse about himself than he already does. Right? And he meets this girl who also has her troubled past and issues. And they basically form a contract that she will help him overcome his shut-in lifestyle, right? And it's an anime, dude. I think it's like 24 episodes. And it's an anime that just really speaks to, it's almost like 20 years old probably, and it still speaks volumes to this day. Because in a society where people feel betrayed by the government, I'm talking about the United States specifically, people feel betrayed. They're told their whole life that you're supposed to go to college, and if you go to college and graduate and do the right things, you'll get a job, and you get a job, you'll get a wife or husband, or you'll have a family, and you'll live a happy life. And that's just not what's happened. That's not realistically the map anymore. It's not the blueprint, and it hasn't been for a long time. And this economy where a lot of people have lost their jobs, and a lot of people can't find jobs. So you have people who have bachelor's and master's degrees working at Chick-fil-A or like working at a retail store, etc., etc. You have people who are really depressed and really trying to find meaning in their life and feel like life can be meaningless. And this anime speaks on that, right? Because this is a main character who is depressed and he's a shut-in and he doesn't have a great social life. He is very awkward, right? His social battery is very low. The way he interacts with others is so strange because he shut himself in and he shut others out. And there's so many moments in this series, again, around 24 episodes in this series, where you can really see all the hope lost in this guy, right? You can see him losing a bunch of weight. You can see him, he's not well kept or well maintained in terms of his appearance. Again, the way he talks to others, the way he talks to himself is so degrading. And it's just someone who's went through the ringer emotionally and mentally. He's mentally battling with himself every day. And there are moments, and one of the biggest moments in this show is where he joins, I believe it was on accident, but he accidentally joins this group that they thought they were going like a resort and doing whatever, but they're actually like a group that's going to commit suicide together. It's one of those groups that are like going to commit suicide together. And it's a really deep episode, man. It's a moment where he has a decision to make. Either he's going to join these people that he doesn't know. And I think he knows one of them from college maybe or something, but like the majority doesn't know all these people. And they're about to jump off this cliff, and he has a moment to do that, or he can start living for himself. And even though he doesn't end up actually killing himself, it does get to a moment where you can see, and I think he can realize how bad it's gotten for him. And then it just continues to get worse because he also loses aid from his parents, so his parents stop funding his lifestyle, and he goes days without eating, and so he's forced to get like a job, and I forgot what the job was. It was some like public service job or something, and he gets this job, and you can see through this job that he's starting to find himself again, because sometimes when you're in this depressive state, like I was, right? I can only speak on myself. In this depressive state where you're trying to find jobs, you're trying to find ways of life, income, and you're not finding it, or you always getting these constant rejection letters, and you think there's something wrong with you, or at least I thought there was something wrong with me, and you kind of enter this. I entered this depressive episode, and you start thinking there's something wrong with you. You think you're worthless. You think that you're the problem. You think that you'll never amount to anything. You think you're a waste of space. All these thoughts start clouding your head, right? And sometimes about just getting out there, right? Putting yourself out there, finding any job you can, like I had to many times throughout my adult life so far, and just do your best, and really lean into those relationships that you formed over time. And that's something that the main character hasn't been able to do. So when he gets this job, and because he's forced to do it to literally live to survive, he starts to slowly come out of his shell a little bit, because he's forced to interact with others. He's forced to do hard work. He's forced to start trying to carve and create a life for himself. So it does something for him. But this girl that I talked about earlier that he created a contract with kind of fell in love with him, and he's just too into his head and what he has going on to really realize the importance of that connection, or that connection at all. So he ends up rejecting her, and then she spirals and goes through her own deep depression, because she's had a very troubled past, like I said, or alluded to earlier. And for her, I believe her mom also committed suicide, and her stepdad, I don't know if it was her dad or stepdad, but her guardian after that, what happened to her mom, was abusive to her mom, but he was then abusive to her. He turned his sights on her. It was abusive to her. So now she has a mentality that everything is her fault, that something's wrong with her. And so when the main character rejects her, it kind of re-fortifies what she thinks about herself, or thinks of herself, right? So she starts going through her deep depression, and so she goes off, and I think she tries to commit suicide in her house, doesn't work. Then she tries to go commit suicide, either where the main character was going to at one point, or where her mom was. I don't know if it was the same place or not, I forget, but she goes somewhere to go do that. And he ends up stopping her, but he then tries to do it himself. And he gets stopped, I think, by a netting that's supposed to prevent people from committing suicide on this cliff, because I'm assuming a lot of people probably use this cliff for those various type of reasons. So he gets stopped, and I think at that moment, that happens kind of end the series. That happens, and he really starts to finally understand the message of all this. That sometimes life can be boring, really boring. That sometimes there are lulls, or there is some type of meaningless that comes with certain things, of the ebb and flows of life itself, right? But something that's always interested me about this series is that it really digs, and it's very blunt and not shy, to show you how truly meaningless life can be, or at least that, I'm going to be very direct, how meaningless life can be. And I don't mean that as a negative, and this show doesn't either, because in that meaninglessness of life, you have to then find meaning in that. right? And the meaning that you find is yours. That is life. That is your life. And you can do what you want with said life. And to just throw that life away can be selfish because, and this, again, this show does a great job of diving into mental health, diving into depression, diving into shut-in lifestyle, like a true shut-in lifestyle. It dives into, there's an episode or a little arc about pyramid schemes and stuff that everyone deals with when you get to a certain age. In terms of like pyramid schemes and reconnecting with friends from high school over a long period of time. There's all these little things, and that beauty of life and how to find it. It's not easy, and it looks different for so many people because there's this other character, and that the main character in one of his like he lives in like this kind of like apartment thing. So in his apartment complex, him and his other tenant decide to try to make like a game that's like, I don't want to call it a porn game, but it's kind of like one of those mature games, those adult only games, and it doesn't work. And so the tenant has to go move back with his family to go basically inherit the farm that he really didn't want to do. And there's people I know in life who have family businesses or organizations or some kind of inheritance of that kind that they do not want to take over. They want to go find their own life and go carve out something for themselves. And sometimes that works. Sometimes they have to go back home and do what they gotta do. In this character's instance, the tenant had to go back and do what he had to do. I think his father was sick or something. And through that, he actually found a way and carved out a good life for himself. He started having it wasn't as bad as he thought it was going to be. His back home wasn't the prison that his mind constructed it to be. He ended up finding a girl for himself that he fell in love with and intends to marry, and gave him a new sense of purpose and meaning of life. And that's what I mean, and that's what the show means. That life looks different for so many people. That's what makes life unique and its own for whatever life form is conscious, right? And what this show carves out is to show, again, I keep reiterating because it's really important, that through the boredom on the mundane tasks you do day after day, that it can amount to something. And that sometimes it doesn't amount to something. And that's okay. Sometimes you'll have days where you're just laying down because you need to rest. Other days you'll have a weekend or a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, where like a week vacation where you go on vacation, or you go to the club, or you go to a friend's birthday, or something exciting happens. But don't let this era that we live in now, and bringing this show that was in the early 2000s to like the 2025 era, don't let social media, where you see everyone look their best at all times, living life on 100 at all times, don't let that comparison to your own life make you feel lesser than, or make you feel like you're not worthy of living, that you're not important, that no matter what you do, you'll amount to nothing. Like, don't let social media do that to you, because it will. It's very easy to do that, because again, no one goes on social media and shows the hustle. No one goes on social media and shows you their constant failures. Because if social media was more realistic, people would show, you'd see so many failures. You would see so many L's. You would see people being really nasty and really authentic to who they are, but it wouldn't look too good. It wouldn't be aesthetically pleasing, right? You wouldn't have these people constantly sharing the good and never the ugly. So those are kind of the messages that I got personally when watching Welcome to NHK, because I fell into that hole very early on, where I went on, like, I let social media and the people I was following, whether it was celebrities or people I knew throughout life at that point, I let all the successes and blessings and whatever they're showing make me feel lesser than and feel like I had nothing going on. And it put me in a really bad tailspin. Then you try to do this fake performative bullshit where you feel like you gotta live it big. You gotta always show you're living it big to show you're not left behind and all this stuff, and you didn't peak in high school and all these different foolish things that you really don't shed until your late 20s into 30s. And some people, I know plenty of people who are in their 30s and 40s and that are shut-ins or going through these different situations and mental health struggles and moments. So it's not always an age thing. Sometimes it just comes to what period you are in your life and what is happening with you. And I do think this is a anime that can be very depressing, and it has a very serious yet blunt message that is still a beautiful message to be had, that I think everyone needs to digest at some point in their lives, right? And so Welcome to NHK it's a strange anime that doesn't have too many up spots and can be very cringy at times, but it does that because it's very grounded and realistic. This is one of those animes that I will say is pretty realistic and spot on when it comes to, again, the depression, the sense of self, the mundane and meaningless aspects of what life can offer at times. But again, it also shows the beauty of one day taking the meaningless and making something meaningful out of it. And that's what makes Welcome to the NHK so damn special. So that's my take on it. It's just one of those shows I just really feel like speaks to what's going on today, and it can really help a lot of people. So I highly recommend, if you can watch it, please do. And comment below, let me know if you have watched it, or if you plan on watching, or if you do, come back and let me know if you like it or what you got out of the message of it. Because I feel like it's a general message, but I feel like it can speak and help people in different ways. So I'm very curious of how it touched other people. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you on the next one. Peace.